Okay. How the hell do you flip the camera?
What?
How the hell do you flip the camera?
We do.
All right, don't touch it. Knock it over. Hey, genius. The bar is hidden. Double. Oh, that doesn't work.
No, I don't know. I'll
Make it work. I'm gonna pack my stuff up and go out.
If she ain't trying to work, so she ain't supposed to be trying to be smaller,
Career panel, come forward, please. Career panel. Rosa Santiago, come up to the table. Mary Fernandez. Is Ida here today?
Mary's coming. Okay. By the time I'm done, y'all. Oh.
What's that? Oh, Carrie Shapalo here? Come on up. To my right. All right, V has an announcement. Yes.
What are you looking for?
Yeah. All good?
Sorry. I went the worst way.
Thank you, Joe, for lowering the microphone about 3 feet.
This is the wrong way.
So I just want to remind everyone, if you did bring canes, cane parts, cane tips, anything cane related, you can bring those to me at the door prize table, which is just, if you're walking up front, it's to the right of the front table where the podium is. And so I'll collect those today. You can bring them tomorrow, or come find me if you need to make another arrangement, and I will get those sent out.
Yay. Thank you.
Okay, we get started in a minute or two here, I think. I think what we're going to do first is some auction stuff right here. Auction. We have some auction. What do you got?
Okay. How many of you can't use your microwave? Okay, so this is pretty cool. I was at National Convention last year. I was sitting on a couch. This little white dude sat next to me, and we started talking. And I said, I smell popcorn. He goes, this is the coolest thing. I was in exhibit hall. There was a microwave. I said, Alexa, make my popcorn, and made it. I don't have to tell my mom or dad how to make it anymore. I can be independent. This microwave will help you guys be independent without having to have a sighted person there with you. It's Alexa. You can use it with your Echo Dot. It's pretty cool. So we're gonna start bidding off. It's black, and so we're gonna start. And if you want it and you get it, we'll leave it over the table, and then you can get it after this meeting. So.
Figures 30.
Jasper, 40.
Gasper, she's the other instructor says she knows the value. She says 40, Gasper. Gasper says 40. Makes great chocolate chip cookies too, Gasper. Figure said what, 80? Oh, 50. I tried. Gasper 60. She knows the value when she sees one.
Figures 70.
70 for Figures. The fight is on. Come on, Gasper. We hear her. 80 for Gasper.
Figures 90.
90. Gasper, come on, Gasper. 90 for Figures. Going once. Oh, Gasper. How much?
Wait, what's the bidding at?
90.
Melinda's 95.
95. Melinda's 95. 95 for Melinda.
Figures 100.
Figures 100.
Melinda's 110.
110. 110 for Melinda. V's quiet over there. V's done anything. V is fried out. She's done. She's done. She's fried. So what do we have? 110 for Melinda? 110 Melinda's going once. Twice. There you go. Melinda's
All green all the way.
Okay.
Oh, you heard about that.
Okay, so this basket is a very big basket. So we have 2 wine in it. We've got 2 wine glasses, 1 package of milk chocolate truffles, 1 package of popcorn, 2 packs of goldfish crackers, 4 small milk chocolate bars, 1 package of Planet Peanuts, 1 Planters Peanuts, 1 package of cookie dough niblets, 1 of Grandma's chocolate chip cookies, and 2 Keebler cheese and peanut butter crackers. It's a giant basket. South Jersey chocolate.
That's beautiful. All right.
Castellano, 1 million.
Sold the Castellano for $1 million. We can all retire now.
Sorry, I meant 30.
Oh, that old age comes in quickly. 30.
Oh my God.
30 for Castellano. 30 for
Zegner, 40.
Zegner 40. Zegner 40. Zegner 40, Carol.
Castellano, 50.
There you go. 50 centavos. $50. Beautiful. The basket's worth at least something. 60 for Zegner. She owns a good piece of furniture when she buys it.
Carol's at 60 now.
$60 for Zegner going once, Carol.
We're going over to their house for wine and chocolate.
There you go. Well, with the price of gas, it's going to cost you more than that. 60 going once, twice. Sold to Klaus and Michelle. Oh, Michelle. Yeah, 2 more. What do you got over here?
So we got a beautiful Wawa swag. So you get yourself a blanket, you get yourself a stainless steel mug, you get yourself a little lunch basket to take with you. Insulated. You get yourself a $10 Amazon gift card. There's coupons in here. It's a great deal.
Figures 20.
Bigger is 20.
Gaspa, 30.
Oh, the battle's on again. Good, okay. Gasper 30. And she means it too. I hear over
Figures 40.
there. 40. It sounds like a TV show, isn't it? The Battle of Freehold. 40 for Biggers. 40 for Biggers. 40's going once. 40 going twice, V. 45, Dina Tara. There you go. He sneaks in at the end. Beautiful. 45 for Dina Terrace back. Going once. Going twice. Dina Terrace, 45.
Okay, I'm not going to describe this basket because that's the same as the one I just described. It's a Wawa basket.
Yeah, and we'll start at 40 with bigger. Okay, we'll give you.
Yeah. Was this 40 or bigger? Bigger said 40 or Ellen actually said 40 for bigger, so it's fine. 40 for bigger. Is that okay, Matt? Good. Get on the mat plan.
Hey, that's what the wife said my limit is.
All right, 40 for bigger so far. Pass for 45. 45 for Gaspa. 45 going once, twice. Gaspa has it for 45. Give it to Gaspa. 45. Give it to us, 45. Okay, let's get started here. All right, then V, after you get set up, after this panel, V, get a really good door prize set up. All right, this is a career panel, so get like applications for jobs. Okay. That's right. All right. One of the most important things that we strive for is work. And these three people up here are working. Well, it's finished. Working, have worked, or will work soon. One's in school, one's an entrepreneur, and Mr. Carey's up here. Carey's a financial expert. Ask his wife. She's very good at it. Now, you'll hear their careers in a moment. They're all unique. They all had some stumbling blocks along the way. And Mary did work before, and now she's back in school, but that's good. Soon she'll be working for a big company, making lots of money, and remembering her old boss here, Joe, with temper. Oh, you heard it. All in favor, Mary, give me 10%, say aye. All right, we're going to start with, so she does cackling. Okay, good. We're going to start with Mary Fernandez and her little life history here. Very short. You get about 8 minutes to cover your whole career. Good luck. I want you to cover why you are doing what you're doing and why you love me. Yeah. Take 35 seconds. Why you chose the field you're in. You might be helpful. We'll help you get along the way.
Okay. Hello? Oh, there we go. Hi. Good afternoon, everyone. That pizza really pumps me up, I must say. So, my name is Mary Fernandez. A lot of you have known me for a long time, since I grew up in New Jersey and basically in the Federation. I am currently pursuing my master's in business administration at Duke University. This summer, I was an intern, which I'm almost 30. I haven't been an intern in a long time, but I was an intern at Cisco Systems. They are the people that make the inaccessible phones, WebEx, all of those great things. And I was in a managerial rotational program. And so the way that it works with business school is that if you do well in your internship, you get a job offer with the corporation that you're with. So I did get a job offer. I'm still trying to decide if this goes where I want to go, if I'm looking at some other big corporations. Before business school, I was mostly doing nonprofit and like disability rights work. So a lot of you all know I worked at Brown, Goldstein & Levy as a paralegal right after graduating from undergrad at Emory University, where I was a psych and music major, so obviously I was meant for business. And that was an amazing job. And one of the things that I learned from working with lawyers was this idea of disagreeing with thoughts, not people. And I think that that's one of those things that have really helped me throughout my career wherever I go. Is like, you can challenge ideas, but like at the end of the day, we're all a team, and we should be able to work together, whatever team it is and whatever strategy it is that you are approaching and pursuing. After Brown, Goldstein & Levy, I went to I actually went to LCD for a few months. Graduated and then came back to New Jersey to be a coordinator for the EDGE program. So when EDGE started, it was me and Pat McKenna. We got it kicked off. It was amazing, and it's amazing to see how it's grown and transformed into this incredible program. So it's really cool to see something that you kind of helped build up, how it has continued to change people's lives. After EDGE, I worked there for about a year and a half. I decided that I wanted to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. So back in 2017, I basically was doing freelancing on a lot of different projects. So I helped with the Virginia Transition Program, CX program. I basically wrote the proposal for that, the curriculum, helped them build it up. They have that up and running now. Again, it's amazing how it's all working out. I also did a lot of public speaking. So I worked with like the United Nations on figuring out accessibility and like why web accessibility is important, and talking to some of their main stakeholders on how they can work on doing that. It's an ongoing project for them, but those are some of the things that I figured out I could do and get paid for while I was figuring out my life. And a lot of that work came about through the network that I've built through the National Federation of the Blind, which has been instrumental in everything I've done, basically. And that's when, it was in 2017 when I woke up one day, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go get an MBA so people take me seriously. So I took the GRE and I applied to a few schools, and Duke gave me a lot of money, so I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go there. And so right before starting at Duke, I went and worked at the National Federation of the Blind, National Center, for about 6 months, and did like 3 special projects. So one of them was helping rebuild the Vermont affiliate, which is now is up and running. It has a board, it has members. So that was really cool. We went from like, there were 0 people involved to now they have like members and everything. So that's amazing to see. And I did a couple other projects, including helping build out the new strategy that came out at the beginning of this year. So like those pillars, the 4 pillars that we're focusing on: employment, advocacy, education, parents' rights. So that was like one of my projects that I helped build out at the NFB while I was there. But I guess in finishing, there's just a few things that I think have been super helpful for me. A has been the mentorship and belief that I've received from everyone that I know at the NFB. So having the people that you trust to kind of tell you when you're messing up, but also like when you're doing something well, and also to give you a push when you feel like you can't do something. That's really crucial and something that I will never take for granted that I gained through this organization. And then also just thinking beyond what you know is possible. So like, I don't think I'm a particularly strong person at math. And so when I was like, I'm gonna get a business degree, there was a part of me that was like, are you insane? Like, you're gonna fail. But I think that knowing that and being like, acknowledging that, like, okay, there is a possibility, like that is a weakness, that is something that I have to flag, but like not letting that stop you, I think is really crucial to do, because that way you're gonna be able to push yourself to do things that you might not even know if you can do or not. So business school has definitely been challenging on a lot of levels, but it's also been one of the best decisions I've made so far. So yeah, thank you. I'm gonna pass it on now to Dr. Small.
Good afternoon. I have spent the last 3 years living here in New Jersey, and one of the first memories of my early days living in New Jersey was I received this unsolicited phone call from one Joe Ruffalo, who gave me a big warm welcome to New Jersey. So Joe is a builder and a visionary for We the Blind in New Jersey, and I'm just grateful that he welcomed me into the Federation. We've had an adjustment moving here from the great state of Indiana where we have lots of cows. We have more cows than people, I think. And lots of open spaces with not a lot of transit. And, you know, it's been quite an adjustment. But thank you very much for the warm welcome. Really, a little bit of my background. I'm originally from Chicago, and I always wanted to answer the question of why things were the way they were. I remember when I was in 4th grade, I asked questions like this: why does ice melt? Why does food spoil? Why does the sun rise in the east and set in the west? And I learned at a young age that all of these questions were asking queries about what different scientific phenomena are. And I learned also early on that in order to learn how things work, you've got to ask questions. And sometimes you ask good questions, and sometimes you ask boneheaded questions. But I'm told that there's no such thing as a bad question unless it's the one that's not asked. And so, so that carried me through all the way into college. And I changed my major about 5 or 6 different times. And I settled on a degree combination of chemistry and communication. So I have a strong liberal arts background and a strong science background. So it's a very unique combination. I graduated from Purdue University in Indiana. And then I moved on to graduate studies at Penn State University.
Yay!
And there, I received a master's degree in inorganic chemistry, studying catalysis and the transition metals on the lovely periodic table. And if you want to talk more about that over beer tonight. Yes, indeed. But very, very stimulating nonetheless. And then I wanted to pursue a chemistry PhD in the field of educational research. I wanted a project to investigate how blind students having a hands-on science learning experience can positively or negatively impact their attitudes towards science. And now, we in this room, we all know that if we give blind people a chance to do something, they're more likely than not going to enjoy what they do. Okay, just learning by doing is just a way of life in a lot of circles. It should also be that way in the blind community, because so often blind kids are relegated to the role of note taker / data recorder, and that's about it. They're not actually doing any of the mixing and the meshing of the chemicals that they're working with. So I wanted to change that. And my research advisor at Penn State said, okay, Claire, that's a wonderful project. You just need to secure funding to do it. Okay. So that's when I got my first exercise in writing a National Science Foundation proposal, which ironically, as a grad student, I got it funded. And when you get grants funded to a large university, they like you a lot more, because now you're suddenly revenue generating for the institution. And then I got a second grant proposal funded. It's some funding for this work. Great. And what we learned at the end of this detailed study was that we had 15 subjects, and 14 of the 15 kids that we enrolled had a positive attitude shift in science, from negative to positive. And of the 14 kids that were studying, or that had the positive shift, 7 of them declared math and science in college. And I know a number of them through the Federation family, and I know 4 of them secured jobs in STEM afterwards. So we find things really can enlighten. And then I use that as the, I guess, the diving board off into the faculty teaching realm, and I competed for a chemistry faculty position at a university in the Midwest that I'll leave as nameless for now. And but I will say I'm grateful because I was given the opportunity to teach chemistry laboratory society as a totally blind instructor. And for those of you that don't know, I use a white cane and I use write Braille all the time. I lecture from hard copy Braille notes. And so usually one of the questions I was asked repeatedly throughout undergraduate college study was, okay, if an emergency happens, who's going to get carried out of the lab? Well, On this particular day, on a cold February morning, I was a professor in this chemistry lab course, and one of my freshman students started what I called an unauthorized fire in the lab. And it was so unauthorized that it set off the fire alarm in the building. And remember, it's a cold February morning, emergency evacuation, and it was my responsibility to make all my students get out of the lab. And it was a really empowering moment in my teaching career because so often I had to fight for the right to be in the lab, and now I have the responsibility of making sure all of my students get out. And I thought it was a really cool. I'm glad that student made that fire. I really am. Now, when there's a fire in the chemistry building, the fire department doesn't just send the fire; they send everybody. They sent helicopters, fire trucks, ambulance, they had the whole crew show up. And everyone in the building was evacuated. So when the fire marshal came out, who's in room 104? I had to raise my hand in front of all the faculty and students. And they escorted me into the burning building. My students started down to our lab, and the firemen wanted to know what we were doing. Is it safe to let people back in the building? Is it safe? Blah, blah, blah. They did not care that I was doing. That was totally irrelevant. So it was a wonderful opportunity. I'll forever love that student for doing this. But it goes to show that we want to sit at the table so we can participate in the field of the. Okay, not only do we want to participate, we want to excel at what it is that we do. And I repeat this to groups all over the world that I speak to. It's important that you have self-confidence, you have your alignment skills in order. So for those of you in the audience who are thinking, well, maybe I should go for training, maybe I shouldn't, you absolutely should. It's just skills you're going to use every day for the rest of your life. And if that's not worth investing some quality time, I would help you. And I just live in this dream of getting to travel all over the world and meet with world leaders and talk about how blind people can learn science and promote raising the bar and expectations of science education all around the world. And it's been a good ride, and I want to ride this long and confident.
Hello, everybody. How's everybody doing so far? Good. Well, my story is a little interesting.
What's your name?
I came into NFB a few years.
What's your name?
Rose. I said Rose is Santiago. No, sorry guys. Sorry guys. Okay. Okay. I'm Rosa Santiago. For those of you who don't know me. Anyway, my story is very interesting. I came to the NFB a few years ago, and I came in and I was just I lived my life really throughout my childhood and adulthood, most of my life being around sighted people. I really didn't have a lot of experience being around blind people in that sense, but I did, go to certain schools in the summer, summer schools and things like that, like Camp Marcella and University and things like that. And that was the only time. The rest of the year I wasn't. So I was in school and I was surrounded solely by sighted people. I went through many challenges in my life because of the fact that I was always the only blind girl in the school, in elementary, in high school. I was always a hands-on kind of person. Education, I loved to read myself. I was always reading. I loved to write. I had emphasis in life on writing and business. And I love business. I love working with lots of people, networking. And when I came into the NFB, I met Jimmy. Joe Ruffalo has been since day one in my life a wonderful inspiration, a mentor, someone who's always talked to me in a positive way. Even when I was uncomfortable, I was a little bit uncomfortable because now I was surrounded by many people who were blind, and I had my dog and everything, but I was just a little bit, disoriented. But I started getting to know people, and I started getting to know the hearts of people, and learning how wonderful people can be, and all the things that people do voluntarily, helping out others. Because really, it's about giving more than it is about taking, in my opinion. And I had a business for many years that I did for about 14 years. I did a business. But I wanted to expand my life. I wanted to do more. I wanted to help more people. And having the business that I had, I didn't have the opportunity to be more outside or be networking or talking to people in different places. I love to pick people's brains. I did that to Joe a lot. Calling him up.
There's so much there, but you
I don't know. Because there was an opportunity for me to continue my career, I wanted to write a book. My passion after I left my other business was to open another business and to write, because that is really my passion, is writing and teaching and speaking. So I decided that I wanted to, like many of you want to live the life you want, don't you? Isn't that why we're here? We want to live the life we want. We want to say one day or say today that we got this. We got this. We can do anything we set our minds to. My thing was I wanted to write a book that could inspire people, that could open people's mind to learning how to live an exceptional life despite their challenges. That is hugely important. And I had times in my life where I went through major challenges where I thought I was literally going to fall apart. I was in a marriage with a man that did not respect or love me the way a woman should be loved, and did not value me as a person. And I had to walk out of that, and that was my choice to do. But one thing I can say is that today I am a writer. I did make my dreams come true, just like you can make your dreams come true. If you're pursuing a career right now and you're going through challenges, don't let that get you down because you're having challenges. Maybe you're going through certain situations that are making you feel less than, right? Or make you feel like you just are not enough. That is total bogus, because we are enough. We're more than enough. And the point is that when we pursue our lives and we say to ourselves, listen, fear, I can have that fear, but if I don't do anything about it, I'm going to stay in that fear and I'm never going to move forward in my life. Fear is simply fantasized experiences appearing real. And if we allow fear to step in the way of our progress or step in the way of our going forward in life, we're never going to do anything. I decided that I wanted to write. I decided I wanted to do business. I decided that I wanted to network and I wanted to meet people in my field. In fact, the other day, just on Thursday, I met Dr. Deepak Chopra, who is I met him face to face, and I actually gave him my book, guys. So he has my book in his hand. And it was such an amazing experience that day, because I literally just said, I'm gonna meet the Deepak Chopra, and get that dream come true, the goal of mine. And he talks a lot about my favorite. I'm very philosophical in a lot of ways. I'm open to everything and attached to nothing. That's my philosophy. But I literally, when I met him, and I've been watching him for years and reading his books, he talks a lot about quantum physics. He talks a lot about mind, body, and spirit. That's right up my alley. And he talks a lot about health and wellness, which is up my alley. And the things I learned from him and other people that I follow, they're the experts. I'm learning from them. Experts, mentors like Joe Ruffalo, who opened the door for me to say, you can do whatever you set your mind to. You can live the life you want. Nothing should stop you from that. In fact, because of Joe Ruffalo, I was able to be interviewed on television, live television, cable, where I was interviewed by a beautiful woman who today is now my friend, Miss Ritu Chopra. She is a wonderful woman who has the TV station. In fact, she wants me to go back and speak again because she loved what I did. And I am so proud. I'm so proud to do what I do. And one thing I have to say is that nothing, no matter what your challenges is, even if you don't have the most impressive education, what matters is what you want. And asking yourself that question is imperative to your future. So asking yourself, what do I want? And actually start creating those goals. That's what's going to get you from point A to point B. You have to live that personality now so you can have it in the future with no surprise. So guys, my ending words are always remember that you are in the driver's seat of your life. And it's you that's going to make a difference in your life. People can talk to you, people can share with you, people can be around you and give you encouragement, but if you don't take the reins of your own life, you will not live the life you want. So I encourage all of you, despite any challenges you might have, keep pushing yourself forward. NFB has got you covered. That's why we're here. We teach, we show you, we learn, we continue. It's a continuous progress and continue learning and education. So just keep moving forward, and definitely, you absolutely can live the life you want. Thank you.
Quick question, all three. Quick question, all three. We talked about Braille earlier. Are you all three Braille users?
Yes.
Braille's important to your life, right? Yes. You're gonna give me 10% of your money. No, it hasn't worked yet. Now, Rosa, you said some kind words, but we're all in this together. When you succeed, we all succeed. So I did give you some networking stuff, and I guess I could consider you, maybe I'm your agent, 10%. Thank you, guys. You did a great job. Carol's next up here, followed by Brian Keene in the house. Is Gregory here? All right. Did you hear the good news? You gonna hear the good news? What's the good news, Brian? Oh, well, besides that, no, that is good news. That is good. No, Gregory, I handed in your tickets last night to prove that Gregory won. He won registration, Friday night dinner, and banquet for next year's convention. Yep. So I did turn your tickets in. All right, next is a young lady. She says, yeah. See, you keep calling her young. She does so much stuff for you. Really try it sometimes. You really Joe, hold on. We all leave. Don't ever say that again. Don't ever insult my friend Carol like that again. Oh, God. I forgot we're streaming this Sunday. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Words can't introduce her. It's her action that introduces her. She never says no. She may have it hard a little bit. She may decide to go on vacation for 4 weeks. No. Our good friend, Carol Castellano.
Yeah. Good afternoon, my Federation. Yeah. My title today is Blind Children from Cradle to Career. I'm glad they didn't give me cradle to grave. For my family, it didn't start so much in a cradle as in an incubator. Many of you know Serena's story. She was born 4 months premature. She weighed 1 pound 5 ounces. Her head was the size of a lemon, and her leg was the size of my pinky finger. She had surgery after surgery and delay after delay in her development. And she spent the first 7.5 months of her life in the neonatal intensive care unit. So when she finally came home, there she was with the aftermath of extreme prematurity. She was seriously undersized, she was blind, she had muscle weakness, developmental delay, and she couldn't control the muscles of her face and mouth, which meant that she could not chew and she could not talk. And maybe worst of all, her shoulders were so hyperextended from all the IV lines that her arms hung behind her. And that's not so good for a baby who's blind. When she was 1, she still couldn't sit up. At 3, she still couldn't chew solid food. And at 5, she still couldn't talk. But really the worst of it was the attitudes of many of the professionals who were in our lives at that time. There was the developmental pediatrician, who warned me that I shouldn't try to teach her things. I'd ruin my relationship with her, and I better start treating her as retarded. I said, what does that even mean? There was the teacher of the blind who wouldn't give us stick-on Braille because we wanted to make alphabet blocks for her. And the teacher had decided, when Serena was 12 months old, that she would never read. There was the special ed preschool teacher who told me Serena couldn't possibly come to their school and be in her class because her needs were so great, and that she has to go where the blind people go. And there was the elementary school principal who said when she was going into kindergarten, well, we'll put her in the lowest reading group. And when I asked why, if she had been tested, and he said, well, because we expect the students in the other two groups to understand what they read. He also asked me, how would she go to the bathroom? I was really tempted to give him a smart answer. I didn't. So there we were with an extremely premature baby with serious delays in development, being perceived as so far gone that even special education couldn't deal with her, with people giving up on her and telling us we were in denial for having any hopes at all for her future. So many families with young blind children experience a similar situation with expectations so very low. And I thank God for the Federation for our positive philosophy that can help families pick themselves up, brush themselves off, find out what they need to do, and start doing it. The Federation teaches that blind people can achieve, that blind people could go to college and get jobs, that blind people could get married and have families, that a blind person could learn skills to accomplish tasks. I really liked what I heard here. And Sean, I too was warned against this radical and militant organization. Like you, joined right up. But the Federation philosophy is really a beautiful thing for parents to hear. Our slogans, it's okay to be blind. Blindness is not the defining factor of your life. Blindness doesn't have to stop you from achieving what you want in life. For families with young blind kids, especially ones who have additional stuff going on and who are delayed, like my daughter was, it can be a really long road. And we sometimes feel like we have to force the child to develop. You have to do a lot of work. Parents really need to be honest observers of the child's progress so that they can get professional help when it's needed. There are often physical therapists, occupational therapists, speech therapists, and other such professionals involved in the lives of young blind kids. And I'll give you an example. Serena had a speech therapist, and really it was like what she was doing was physical therapy for Serena's mouth. Just sort of waking everything up, getting the strength, getting the awareness so Serena could move her tongue. And she was working with Serena for about 9 months, and it was Christmas week. And the therapists, they were in the living room at our house, and I hear, the therapist was trying to get Serena to go ah, trying to get 2 sounds. And Serena starts going ah, mama. And she said that word, and I, to this day, have never had a better Christmas present. Now, I want you to know, Serena was 5 years old. So I suppose it's not any wonder that everyone had given up on her and thought I was really in denial for having hope. But look what happened. I had the belief. I had the people behind us. My family had the Federation behind us. The only people really telling us she could do it. And they also tell me, you know what, and if she can't do it, she can't do it, that's okay too. We're gonna help you make sure she gets the best education, the most appropriate education she could get, no matter what. Serena picked up talking pretty fast. And chewing. Joe can tell you she can eat twice her weight of macaroni at any given meal. But the therapist worked with her for a long time. There was a lot to work on. And one day she's sitting in the living room. She said, I am thinking of a drink. And it begins with mud, mud, mud. And Serena says, Manhattan. So I immediately called my mother on the phone and said, you see, you cocktail generation, what you've done to my child. So after we do the hard work of helping and urging and encouraging our child's development, then school, it's time for school. And the education of blind children, depending on where you live, can run from excellent to awful. And it's not that it's so hard to do it. I think it's more often the low expectations and the fact that it's rare. Blind kids, you might not know, it's the rarest childhood disability except for deafblindness. And as a matter of comparison, there's 10 times more straight deaf people, children, than there are blind people, children. So most of the time, a classroom teacher has never seen a blind kid in the school. It happens maybe once in a generation or something, but in any given small town, you can expect that your child's going to be the only blind kid around and the only one in anyone's memory. So when it's working well, we know what it looks like. Expectations are high. Students have their materials in accessible form. The students are included in all classroom activities throughout the day. Students have a reading medium that allows them to keep up. Students learn both the academics and the blindness skills they need. And they grow in independence and social skills. And we've seen what it looks like when it's not working. Students fall behind, and that's perfectly acceptable. Students, especially students with residual eyesight, are denied Braille. Students are switched to audio materials before they've had a chance to develop full literacy skills. Students don't have accessible technology. They don't get canes and the training they need for independent mobility. And they're given aids and helpers and accommodations galore. They're given everything but the skills and techniques they need to lead an independent life. So I'd like to say a word about the idea of skills versus accommodations. Often in school, the student is given accommodation after accommodation. Someone to take notes for them, someone to get them from classroom to classroom, someone to carry their tray in the cafeteria, lead them to a table, and sometimes even sit down and eat with them. But what if, instead, students were given the opportunity to gain age-appropriate skills? What if they were given the tools that lead to independence and empowerment? The tools that lead to self-respect and the respect of others? What if they learned not to see themselves as constantly in need of assistance, but as competent and confident participants in the world? Along with making sure we give our kids the skills, we need to engender a problem-solving approach to life. There will always be challenges in life for all of us, and we need to bring our kids up with the idea that they can be empowered to solve the challenges that are in front of them. They can use their inventiveness. They can look things up on YouTube. You can see how blind people do practically anything on YouTube. They can call on their network. Teachers, rehab professionals, and you guys right here in this room, the blind mentors and friends. And I know that any of us could call upon any of you with a question about how to do something. Another important things that our kids need to develop is self-advocacy skills. And when the kids are young, first grade, second grade, we fight for them. But as they get older, they must learn to stand up for themselves. It is the only way that they will have a shot at a normal life. I'll give you a few examples. When Serena was about 7, she was learning how to cross our quiet street that we live on. We live 3 houses from the corner. And her assignment that day was to walk down the steps, make a right turn, walk up to the corner, make a left turn, and position herself to cross the street. So Serena didn't know that being 3 houses from the corner meant that I could see her walk up the block to the corner. So I think she thought she was really doing it completely independently, but I was watching from the house, from the porch. And she got to the corner, she made her turn, she starts to position herself when a car comes flying around the corner, stops in the middle of the intersection. Out jumps the do-gooder, in a Volvo, of course. Runs over to Serena, grabs her shoulders, turns her a different way, and she is now positioned to cross the wrong street. So now I am coming down the steps and I am walking toward the corner and I am so mad, and I don't know who I'm madder at. This do-gooder who is manipulating her, or Serena for allowing herself to be manipulated. And I started to see how very important self-advocacy skills are, critically important. When Serena was in 3rd grade, she was getting the hang of advocating for herself. One day I picked her up at school and she comes running down the hill. Boy, have I got a story to tell you. There was a substitute teacher in class, and Serena gets in the hallway and she's tapping down the hallway and she hears the sub outside the classroom saying, oh, how is she ever going to participate? And Serena says, I said to myself, I'll show you how I participate. So by 7th grade, I was really not very involved. She was handling any test arrangements she needed, or readers, or seating, or whatever it was. And I'm happy to say, I don't know, because she was handling it. Kids really, really need this level of independence and self-sufficiency in order to make it in the world. Once they have the skills to do this kind of thing, they can assert the appropriate self-advocacy to claim their own lives. And they won't expect others or need others to take care of them. They also need to know what to do when sighted people out in the world interfere in their lives. Serena takes a walk almost every day in our neighborhood, and she will, I don't know, maybe once a week or so, add another block on. She's just, expanding how far she can go from the house and know her way around. 3 times the police have been called on her by pedestrians. 3 times. She's an adult woman. And one time they asked her, where do you live? And she didn't know whether she should answer or not. And, she kind of knows her rights. But she answered, and the officer says to her, do the people you live with know that you're out? Does the zookeeper know the animals are out? What? So we had made a plan that if it happened one more time, she was just going to go to the police station and raise some hell, because that's just not right. It's just not right. A blind person has a right to be in the world. A right that was fought for by our founder. Yes. So once high school is finished, then the student has to be ready for college. So hopefully that they've got all those advocacy skills and the academic skills and the technology skills. And now what they need is the daily life skills. Now, yes, of course, we hope those are all been developing, because they've got to do their laundry and they've got to get themselves showered and shaved and dressed and organized, and they have to know time management and get to class and do all their work and hire readers and fire readers and whatever else they need to do. I'm going to share our favorite memory of college, of when Serena was in college. Actually, I'm going to share two. These are my two. The first one happened when she was a freshman. She called me the first week of school, and she said she had been invited to a party at a senior's apartment off campus. Oh, great. And she says, there's going to be drinking, and I'm going to have to ride with somebody, and I don't know whether the person is going to drink and drive. And I said, okay, so have you decided whether you're going to go to this party? She said, no, I haven't decided yet. I said, so I'm trying to be, not a helicopter mother. I step back, let her make her decision. And she tells me she never went to that party. But then a couple of weeks later, she called to say that her roommate was having a boy sleepover. Oh. Exactly. So I said, well, what kind of boy? Boyfriend boy that's gonna be in the bed with the roommate, or boy like just a friend who's gonna be on the floor in a sleeping bag? And we went through this whole thing. If he's on the floor, you can't be in your way, and if you want to get dressed, he must leave the room. Blah 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 blah. So at that point, my son walks in from the other room and grabs the phone from me. He says, "Serena, when you have questions like these, you don't call mom, you call me." And they both tell me that boy never came, and I believe it. Denial, it's a beautiful thing. So my favorite college memory was when Serena was a senior, and we drove up there to drop something off to her, and she seemed a little restless, and she said, give us a hug. Well, are we done? I was like, yeah, I guess. Right. She says, well, I wanted to go meet up with my friends. And so we said, okay, honey, give her another hug. And she turned away from us and just went running up the path to catch up with her friends. It was a beautiful evening. The sunset was glowing, and there's Serena's beautiful long hair floating in the wind. And for us, it was just the symbol of her freedom. Serena's freedom, and I want every parent to have a chance to experience that. So, graduation eventually comes. School's over, the party's over, time to look for a job. The other thing we have to make sure our kids have is what they now call soft skills, job readiness skills. I don't know why they call them soft skills, because they're really hard. And these are skills like learning how to interact with supervisors and coworkers, and learning to understand how you're perceived by others, and communicating effectively, acting professionally, being a team player, all that kind of stuff. I think we have to add for our kids knowing how to bring blindness up in the job interview. Deciding whether or not you're going to reveal that you're blind and take the chance you won't even get that interview, or walk in and have them faint on the floor when they see that white cane. So there's a lot of discrimination that still exists out there. And that's another reason that we are all together in this room, working together in the Federation. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are not there yet. We've still got plenty of work to do to change society's attitudes about blindness and to change our own. But together, we will make it happen. The work is hard, but we've got the strength. And shoulder to shoulder, we will push against the closed doors of opportunity till they fly wide open for our kids and all blind people. Thank you.
Yes.
And I attest to that shit can eat. Oh, my God. Okay, Sorry, Serena. Are you here, Serena? Oh, no. I love you too. You know, when Serena was making her confirmation, now I'm really embarrassed. But she called me on the phone and sent me an invitation, and we went to the confirmation, and we're sitting in the church, and they called her name out, Serena Josefina Cuco. Oh, that's a nice little rhyming name. We get out of the car, go back to her house, and Serena, you picked a really good name, Serena Josefina Cuco. Why did you pick Josefina? She's like, because of you. You, she said, you and Joe Cutter. That's what she said. So thank you, Serena. When I make my confirmation again, I'm going to
Yeah. So, in honor of all this career-related stuff, I have a little career hodgepodge. There is an electric knife, so you can have your coworkers over and cook them something. And then there is perfume that was handed out earlier, but donated back, so you can smell good when you go to work. And a calendar, so you can look up when your days off are.
Spotlight on seniors come up. Who's that? Ada Crandall? Jane? She's going to moderate this. Kathy, yeah, and somebody else. And Ward. Ward's up here? Ward?
All right, so for this career door prize, is Trisha Evil in the room? Left.
She left.
What about Chris Marino?
No.
All right. Marianne Bennett. Yes, I saw her.
Yeah, she said she's back here.
She's back there?
Yeah.
Stand up, raise your hand, screen, do something to you.
Who's that?
Marianne Bennett.
Marianne
We
Bennett.
don't see you. Oh, she's back there.
She's here?
Okay, all right, come on.
Back, Glenn.
Okay. Someone wanted an auction. Ellen's in charge of me. She said, let's get going with these auctions. So we got to run. Here you go. Matt, pay attention, man.
Okay, so this one is donated by the Untitled Chapter. So we have your coffee and tea, and also in sugar. So what you can do is you put your coffee, tea, and sugar into these canisters. Then also there's loose leaf tea in there, so you can make your own little tea. There's a little scooper and a little tea things you put in there and steep it. This is the great one. We have our holiday. We have our holidays over there. So we have pumpkin spice, and then we have candy cane. So and they're Starbucks. So if you want coffee is
Very, very high end.
yes,
That's all.
very, very high end.
That'd be cool.
Do you have an opening bid? Opening
Bigger
bid.
is 20.
Bigger is $20 for bigger is a $100 item for $20. And 20 biggers. Do we have 30?
Yeah, 30.
30 from who's that? Andy Smith, there you go.
30 ABB.
No, we had,
Oh, he said 30.
no, Andy said 30,
Oh,
right?
Andy said 30.
Andy said 30, again, Amy, I'm gonna give you 35. Andy? It's your turn.
Oh, this is very high end.
Andy, 40. Andy for 40. Andy for 40.
Come on, guys. 45.
Who's that? Ham. Oh, Ham's here. Very good.
Oh, good.
Ham, she loves her Starbucks.
This could be a great Christmas present.
45 for Linda Ham. Do we have 50? Do we have $50? 45 for Linda Ham. Linda Ham, 45. 45 going once.
Heights 50.
Heights, there you go. Bring it back to Pennsylvania. Get it out of New Jersey. Heights says 50. What height will she go to next? 50 for height. Do we have 60? I'm sure. Not for me anyway. Do we have 60? Do we have $60? $50 going once? Twice? Well, you got a good deal for $50.
Okay, so this was a great one. So if you want your house to smell really good, we got a Scentsy warmer. It's just silver, but it's really cool. We got soap to put in your bathroom. It's from Scentsy. We've got the bars and the spray. This is donated by Central Jersey / Kristen Panero from her business Scentsy. So this is really great. You can use it all year long, or give it as a gift.
Max, he keeps hinting you should use it as a gift, Matt.
Bigger is 30.
Big is 30. Wait a question. Whatever scent you want it to be. Use your imagination.
There's multiple scents in this, so it's a bunch of them.
It is a spa themed scent. So there's like coconut, there's
Multiple cents turns into dollars, so bet those dollars. Who said 40? V said 40? V said 30? I thought, okay, doesn't matter, right? 35 for V, we have 40. 30, what a bargain, 35 for V.
This is a lot more for that.
Oh, Jerry Fontanelli says 40. Jerry has a good nostril for that smell, that's good. Jerry says 40 $40 for Jerry Fontanelli going once.
Come on, guys. A good gift, Jerry.
Tremendous gift. 40 for Fontanelli going twice. 45 Gaspa. The young girl is going after the old man's. Oh, this is a good battle. Okay. 45 for V, I think it is, right? Anybody, someone in the back said something? Okay. 45 for V going once. Fontanelli says 50. 50 you said, Jerry? 50 says Jerry. Jerry, how old are you? Tell me about your age. 89 says Fontanelli. 89 for Fontanelli. No, that's his age. That's his age. I think Jerry said 50. 50 going once. Jerry's got to own it. Twice. Who's that?
Come on, V.
nobody.
Oh, no, okay. All right, 50 sold to Jerry for 50. Okay, next is Spotlight. Since this is a convention, our convention, we wanted to spotlight those who are featuring, or hosting, I should say. So we have a few people up here who are part of the senior division. Well, Ellen's part of the technology division, correct? Senior, yeah. Good, anyway. I told you I'm a senior, I don't know who's who. So anyway, let me turn it over to Jane, president of our senior division.
It sounds like people need a fit break or something. Anyway, if you're here from the senior division, let me hear you. This spotlight is on us. SOS, spotlight on seniors. We don't need help. So we have 3 wonderful seniors, and all of our seniors are wonderful, but these 3 are going to talk to you a little bit about why they're here, what they do in their lives, and why they consider themselves a senior in charge. And the first one up is Kathy Butzler.
Can you hear me? Hi, my name is Kathy Butzler. I'm originally from Minnesota. I lived in Minnesota all my life, except for the last 10 months. I moved to New Jersey. And it's so funny because people always say, why would you move to Jersey? And I tell them my vision brought me to Jersey. I have a sister who lives in New Jersey, and she is by herself also. So she said, why don't you come out here and I will help you with what you need help with, because my family, my daughter, son-in-law, granddaughter, they're too busy to help. You know, mom, I mean, I slow them down. So I moved out here to Jersey, and I'm very, very happy I did. Where I live in a senior complex, we have a little magazine that comes out, and in the magazine there was a little blurb about a vision loss support group, and I thought, hey, I love getting out and doing things. So I looked at the name and the number, and I called up and I said, is Amanda there? And she says, no, there's no Amanda here. What number are you calling? Well, I'm Anne Marie Cook. And I said, I just saw the E and the M, and I just thought of Amanda. So me and Anne Marie Cook, we talked for over a half an hour. We connected very well. She lives in the same complex I live in. And then she must have called Joe Ruffalo, because within 2 days of talking to Anne Marie, I get this unknown phone call. It says unknown call, and I thought, I'm not going to answer the phone when I don't know who it is. I think the man upstairs is telling me to answer that phone. So I answer the phone, and Joe and I talked, didn't talk. He was telling me about the NFB, and I'm a very active person, and I thought, hey, this is something I want to get involved in. So he told me to listen to an at-large phone call, conference call, and I did, and I liked it very well, so I signed up there. And then I had heard from Anne Marie Cook that there was more events going on. So Linda Melendez, she had told me about the Sport and Rec. So I thought, hey, that sounds like fun. They go out and do stuff. I'm going to join that one also. Well, then I remember Joe telling me that seeing I'm a senior, I should get a hold of Jane. So I got a hold of Jane.
And we talked and talked.
Yes, and we talked, and she was saying what the seniors about and told me about some different divisions that were out there. So then I decided, well, I really love technology. I love to learn. So I joined the technology group. So division. So my conclusion of this whole thing is, you know, we can do anything. And I think the more you open your mouth, the more you get involved, the more you understand that there is a lot of outlets out there for people that are visually impaired. And it's just amazing. This NFB family, this is my very first convention. I met a lot of people. And what's really nice is all these conference calls, they are so interesting. You hear different things to do. You hear all these voices, and then you come to these conventions, and then you meet them by face, and it's like, wow, I didn't know you looked like that. Family, and we're all in the same boat, and there's so much help. And I have not met anybody since I've been here that looks down on me. I think we all respect one another, and that makes me feel so good to be part of the NFB. Thank you very much.
Next up is Ward Biondi, and he's been a member of the seniors for several years. And he took it upon himself to help his senior living facility get an accessible kiosk. So I don't know if they're going to talk about that, but that might put a little birdie in your ear. Anyway, Ward Biondi, thank you.
Okay, just a little bit of background. I've been in the NFB, I'll say on and off, because I wasn't always but I've been in the NFB since like 1974.
Wow.
And then I wasn't in it for a while, and they had to be organizing stuff, and then I came back in, Self-Advocacy Chapter formed, and I found out something by being in NFB and being in other organizations before, and I found out the NFB was the real me. I had to figure that out for myself, really hard yet. That's where I belong. That's where I feel.
The NFB is the real me. That could be our tagline.
Okay. One of the things that the NFB does, and it's really cool, is they form divisions and things that go with your interests in your life and what's happening in your life. And I was in, I've been in the diabetics division, I was diabetic, I was in the government employee division for a while, and when I worked for the government, and then I was involved in local chapters, and then they were kind of a little late with the senior division, but they formed that, and it's kind of neat because we've got to be disciplined as an organization for a lot of reasons. There was a long time when we were fighting for our survival with one people, and a lot of agencies and stuff didn't like it. We had to be disciplined, and we had to be strict, and but when you join the senior division, you get a whole different feel. You see the human side of people, you see the warm side of people. It's something that you really don't expect right away, and then you say it, and you say, wow, these people, they do a calling card, they do the caring call, stuff like that, and say to yourself, yeah, they really are real family, real human beings, and they really care about each other. So, anyway, I live in a senior building, but what we're talking about is the silver linings at Old Bridge Senior Center. Because I go there every day. I figured since I was 5 years old, I've had somewhere to go every day. I need to separate my weekdays from my weekends so I forget what day it is. That's not good. I wanted something to do to keep me occupied and keep me busy. And it's interesting, when you go to a place like that, you need to have good blindness skills because you're dealing with people who have more mobility issues than we have. And they're not as well trained as we are. And, you need to be able to have your blindness skills right up the snuff. Sometimes you're going to accept help when people offer to you because the whole point of it is when you go to a senior center like that is to fit in. So you have to kind of play it all, and you also have to show everyone that you are a federation member and you're a dignified blind person and you know how to act and you know how to talk to people and you know how to really be part of a group. And that takes quite a while sometimes to do. I started because a friend of mine started showing me how to do the bowling, and then after that, we got involved in the chorus. And after that, then I got involved in playing piano for the ice cream socials. And, it became almost like, and I made a whole new group of friends. It took a while, but I made a whole new group of friends, new group of contacts from my work life. I was able to segue into a whole new life. Anyway, they decided that used to be you walked up to the front desk and you'd sign in at the door, somebody would sign your name, and there would always someone at the front desk, and now if you get, you'd sign in with pen and paper. Now, all of a sudden, the last couple of years ago, or last year, I think it was, someone decided that we were going to use barcodes. Well, the barcode thing is fine, except with barcode, one of the things you have to do after you use the barcode is you have to touch a touch screen in two places. One where it says your name and the other complete. Okay, so that caused a problem because, okay, I could do the swipe, but I couldn't do touching on the screen, and I said, well, we gotta do this one of two ways. Either we gotta make it accessible, or we gotta put dots on the screen so I know where to touch. Or we gotta do something because there's no guarantee that somebody's always gonna be at that front desk. So the executive director of the senior center, she was really nice, said, oh yeah, we're gonna take care of it. I talked to the guy, we're gonna get done in a month. A month went by, 2 months went by. You guys know the drill. Yeah. Ended up talking to well, I said, okay, I'm gonna talk to Janie because she's senior president. Well, Janie and Joe was also on the phone that night on the conference call, and we talked about that. And that wound up going to Valerie England in Baltimore, and Mark Riccobono wrote them a letter. Finally, after about another month, and I have to give credit to my SSP going lady telling me, encouraging me to do this. Finally, they figured out that if they did something with the computer and they programmed it, all I would have to do would be swipe the barcode and the computer would automatically put my name in and that I'd signed in. So it got fixed, it got resolved very easily once they figured out that I wasn't going to go away. And I wasn't going to take their solution.
Thank you. Next up is Ellen. I don't know if anybody knows who Ellen is, but she joined the senior division recently, and she's as active in the senior division as she is everywhere else in her life. And she even comes to my house once a month for Echo Book Clubs, and that's special. Okay, Miss Ellen Sullivan. Yay!
And the first thing was, Ellen, do not tell people what you are not, and don't use the word but. Okay, so I want to thank Janie for her welcoming comments, and I'm going to tell you what I am not yet. I am not a member of the senior division yet, okay? But I'm a member of everything else, okay? I joined the National Federation of the Blind almost 5 years ago, and I had 3 years of my NFB career in Delaware, and I tell people that in Delaware, you can be anybody, even the Vice President of the United States. That my NFB career took off in Delaware, but it didn't end there. In February of 2018, I moved back to New Jersey because I was raised in New Jersey and all my family lives in New Jersey. And I called Joe Ruffalo because everybody in the whole United States and abroad knows Joe Ruffalo. I would like to join the NFB of New Jersey. And he said, what do you like to do? And I said, I'd like to fundraise and take minutes. Oh, and he said, you know what, call me back when you're settled in. So a week later, I called him back. And he said, how much experience do you have taking minutes? And I said, Joe, I was the secretary for the Northern Chapter and the affiliate. And he said, well, we need someone to take minutes this Thursday at a meeting. He said, any chance you could fill in? And I said, absolutely. He invited me to attend a leadership meeting that was led by the fabulous Mary Fernandez at the Joseph Combs Training Center in March. And when I sat down, Joe said, Ellen, don't say anything until I ask you and then say yes. There were all these people there. We only had around 30 people in our federation, okay? And all of a sudden there's a vote, and Joe said, Ellen, what do you say? And I said, yes. And all of a sudden, I am voted in as an interim affiliate secretary. A brilliant start. So I'm just going to quickly say that I hooked up with Anne-Marie Cook and Linda DeBardinis, and we planned the first Boscov Friends Helping Friends fundraiser. And in 2018, we made $4,700. And we had involvement at all 8 Boscov stores in New Jersey. Now, I had to call Joe up and say, Joe, this is something we should get involved in. And he said, what is it? And I said, well, in Delaware, we only have 2 stores and we made $1,700. And in New Jersey, you have 8. And he said, sounds like a good idea. And I said, but there's one area we don't have coverage in, and it's the Ocean County Mall in Toms River. And he said, give me some time to work on that. And 2 days later, he called me back, and he said, there's a gentleman down there named Jerry Fontanelli. And Jerry is willing to fundraise with you. So I said, okay. So Jerry and I took 2 days. And in those 2 days, we haven't met each other, okay? We meet at Boscov's, and Jerry and I raised almost $700 in those 2 days. Jerry alone makes $700, okay? So this year, Jerry and I were partners at Boscov's in Toms River, and we made $1,735. $1,735. I'm going to tell you that Jerry is a marketing genius. He designed very creative signage, okay, not too much, just the right amount. He was the one that suggested we get NFBNJ banners for our tables. Now, that doesn't end there. Jerry sang Boscov's show tunes. He wore a straw hat, a blue bow tie, and a gingham shirt. Okay, and it doesn't end there. He got a famous Belgian baker from Bricktown to make individually wrapped cookies for us, and everybody that bought a pass got a cookie. Okay. Well, I'm just going to jump to the fact that Jerry sold about 500 pair of slippers that were on display. Singing Boscov's show tune, and we were selling our $1,735 worth of passes, and the clerk came up and thanked them. And I said, well, all these people were hovering next to us, and if they couldn't be close to Jerry, they were close to the slippers. Jerry and I have become very, very good friends from our Boscov selling days, and we have, Jerry has marketing plans that are already in the works for 2020. Thank all my NFB friends, and I especially want to thank Joe Ruffalo for giving me all these opportunities. And it's been
more to come.
My brain works faster than anybody I know. So thank you, Joe, and thank you, Jane.
You're very welcome.
Let's hear it for our seniors. Thank you very much. For the rest of the afternoon. See you tonight.
All right, coming up next is our identity theft. And while we're doing that, time to get up and stretch. Everybody get up. Pick your pocket in front of you.
moves inside out. It's wiggin', 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 whack.
Very positive. Jerry, I'm going to give this to you. It's a gift from me to you.
Yeah,
Russell. You always think outside the box. It's a nice jewelry box with a gooey brain on top. So think outside the box. You're welcome.
Let Jerry sing the song, the Boskov song.
Did anyone lose anything electronic? We can't tell you what it is. Oh, yeah, it's mine. Who said yes? What did you lose, Mary? No, don't say it.
What did you lose?
Jerry, yeah.
Oh, Mary Fernandez?
Yes, okay.
Oh, guess who got that? Guess who found
Yes, you
them?
can.
Thank Angela for right, and I got it on my bed.
Oh my God! Yeah, the waitress gave it to us. For those of you that are wondering, Jerry's going to sing us the Boskov. Yay!
Take it from the top, Jerry.
Go, Jerry.
I'm at Botscopes in Tom's River.
right.
So let me tell you about our sale for just $5. Now that's not a lot. Think of the money you'll save. So bring your honey or your sweetheart. They will save some money too. Yankee Doodle came to Boskop just to save some money. So be that happy person too. I'm always thinking about you well. I have both a home I bring and everything for Ellen. My inspiration days are never blue. After all is said and done, there is really only one. Ellen, Ellen, it's you.
Jerry wants to do karaoke next year.
To the lovely Sonia Biggers and to the lovely Jocelyn Santiago, to the chagrin of their husbands.
So I just want to thank Angela Perone for turning in those earbuds, and Mary is tickled pink.
Yeah.
We're going to use them as a door prize. Back Fingers says, what's the floor for a second?
So we have the pack table back here. We used to be in place 21. We've had 2 new people join, and we are now in place 18. Well, not 19, sorry. We have to raise another $80, and we'll beat Alabama for 18th spot.
And they have less people than we do.
And the pack play, just so you know, is a monthly contribution, pre-authorized contribution. It's simple. It comes out of your checkbook or debit card or credit card. I want to ask everybody in this room to think about that. That's how we assist our national office with lots of things that need to be done. If you can afford 17 cents a day, just think of it. 17 cents a day times 30 days is $5 a month. If you can put 17 cents aside, $5 is what that's all it takes to join the pack plan. You can do more if you like.
Thank you.
Everything is all cash and carry. But anyway, think about joining the PAC plan. It helps our students with scholarship, STEM program, and so many other things. So, there you go. Yeah, there you go, yeah. Get on the back. All right, one door prize. Say again?
Tell them what they can do if they get 5 people.
Thank you, John Pardo. Don Pardo. It's Don Pardo's cousin, John. If we have 5 people to sign up today, either increase their PAC plan or sign up, we're going to put those 5 names into a hat, and they're going to win a beautiful prize. What prize did we say we were going to win? We said they were going to win. I forgot back.
Registration.
Oh, yeah, registration.
And a ticket next year.
Yes. Yep.
And we just had our 3rd person sign up, so we need 2 more.
If we don't get 5, then the drawing does not happen. We have until 5 o'clock. And if we get 6 people in it, we say thank you. All right. All right. The agenda was written. The agenda was done. I got a call from someone who's not a bum. No.
Someone else.
I know. But it was all done, and someone said about identity theft. And I know Brian did some topic of this at the Northern Chapter recently. So, Brian, you only have 18 minutes, so just identity theft in 18 minutes or less. Yeah, I know you can.
All right.
But if this works out well, and we'll take a survey, if it works out well, we need a longer segment on here to bring in. So, Brian? And Gregory? You won last night's prize, so you get next year's registration, Friday night dinner and banquet. So I did turn your tickets in. But before you get here, you're 20.
Thank you, Joe. I'm very pleased to be here today, and thank you for everybody coming. It's quite a big crowd. But oh, sorry, I'm supposed to fight the mic, huh? Well, I don't know. Can't help it if Joe's so small, you know. I don't know how I can beat one up the SOS group here, but I am a senior as well.
That's right, you are.
And I also belong to another chapter, so I get one. But in any case, for those who cannot see me, I'm wearing a hat here that's an Indiana Jones style hat that a dark brown leather fedora. And I'm going to tell you a story, not about it, but about being an Indiana Jones, or Indiana Joe, I want to say, finding a treasure on the internet, and that treasure is identity. And that people may think that your identity is, it's okay to put everything out there, whatever, but you can't necessarily do that. And I'm just going to tell you some ways of how it's done and how people take your identity the wrong way, and then how you can take from there and protect yourself from that. And this hat is my way of saying, how to do, to find your identity. And the identity is more than just your physical nature. your face, your fingerprints, your voice. In this day and age with the internet and your cell phones and all these things that we have nowadays, there's so much more that is your identity. Take your cell phone, for instance. Your cell phone number is actually your number. Your carrier does not own it. The government doesn't own it. You own it once you get a phone, your cell phone. And because of that, many places, whether it be on the internet or physical brick and mortar places, they want that number. And they ask you for it all the time. And you go, no problem, let's give it out. The number and say your name and say where you live. Being this treasure hunter that I'm trying to be today, let me tell you what I did do for the last talk, but also can do for everybody in this place very, very simply. I can take your name and I can take where you live. So someone like Simple Joe, a commoner here, he could be, all I have to do is put in his name and where he lives, and then I can find out many pieces of information, like what he paid for his house, how much he pays in taxes, his social security number, his I can find out. Excuse me?
You can find out his wife's name too from him.
Yes, I can. I can find out his wife's name and his children's name, and I can find out their financial information, and all from his name and where he lives. Okay. Then there's many more things that I can find out, because if I were a grumpy old black hat, hacker that wanted to do something wrong, as in being a cyber villain, I could take and become a grumpy person, and I'm going to change hats here to a grumpy hat, which it says I'm grumpy, and on the other side, on the back, it says, and I'm grumpy, but you're dopey, because you can normally do are very, very easy for you to not realize that they can be done. Like, I can take his, I can find out about his email address, and then say, oh, well, let's see. I want to do something with, I want to get a vacation. So I want to take a flight. And I'm going to look on the internet. Oh, yeah. Simple Joe Commoner has an account with United Airlines. And that's what they normally do. They'll ask you for your email address when you start an account with them, and that's what they use for the login ID. Well, okay, now I'll just take the most common, 25 most common passwords, and I'll try those out. Guess what? It's probably going to be one that Simple Joe Commoner took and put as his password. So I take and I get into the United account. Of course, you almost certainly have your credit card number in there so that you can easily get an airplane flight. So I'm just going to get in there and I'm going to take and order myself a flight to Bermuda. I want to have a nice warm, my wife likes the warm weather, so I'm going to take a trip with her. And by the time he gets the credit card bill, I'm already back and disappeared. And there's nobody that's going to pay that bill except for Joe Commoner. Okay? And then once I get back, I'm like, I was so relaxing and stuff, but I still would like to sit and relax and be a couch potato for a while. Well, let's see. How many people here would you say have an Amazon Prime account? I'd be willing to bet you it's most everybody here, right? Well, again, what did they use as a login ID? Your email address. Okay, so Mr. Grumpy, I'm like, yeah, I really want to sit. I don't want to do anything because I don't like to work. So I'm going to take and I'm going to go check out his email address there for a login ID on Amazon Prime. Okay, I can get into that because again, he used the same password on his Amazon Prime account. Okay? So now I get into there and I say, what do I want to watch? Well, let's try all the Marvel movies. They all cost like $15 to rent and watch. And there's how many? I think there's about 15 of them. Okay? That being the case, I can do binge watching of all the Marvel superhero movies on Joe's dime. So now I can easily take and watch that and get to, and then I can I want to have some snacks during my binge watching. So I'm going to take and use his credit card on there and buy his, because all I have to do is click once on where the credit card is and buy snacks and stuff. This can be done over and over and over again with different websites. I say, on websites, but also you can do it when it comes to email. Recently, I found out that someone in our chapter had gotten their email taken, hacked into, and they were sending out, the hacker was sending out emails to everybody on her contact list. There's everybody's name and everybody's email address. So now I can go back and search for every one of those if I want and do the same sorts of things, by the way. Okay, but they were sending out emails saying, can you help me? Do a favor for me. I need to have you buy gift cards.
Yeah.
Okay, you all got that one, right? Well, I called up that person and talked to the person about it, and I helped her take and make sure that didn't happen again, because that's a big problem with the scam. So never go for that. And now that brings me to my third hat, which I'm going to tell you how to take and prevent this. Okay, so I'm going to put on my white hat, which is my Lone Ranger Joe hat, and my glasses. All superheroes wear glasses for the disguise, right? So I'm going to now ride into the rescue. Which I don't have 6 guns, on the side here with silver bullets. Yeah, I figured you guys wouldn't want that. That's right. What I want to talk to you about is how to prevent this. And this is only one portion of the things that you can do, but it's a start. One thing I mentioned is your email address. People put in one email address for everything everywhere, whether it be Facebook or Instagram or Amazon or Apple or eBay. I can go on and on. LinkedIn. There's many places that you use your email address, and it becomes your login ID. That's the first thing you don't want to do, is to have one single email address for everything, because, like I pointed out, as soon as I find out someone's email address, I can then go to many places and probably find out, which accounts you have and which ones you don't, which places. That would be the first thing. Now, you can use what is called disposable email addresses. So you can have a different one for every one of them, if you want. So that, and all those disposable email addresses would forward any email that you get from these places that you registered it with to your main email address, so you don't have to put that out anywhere unless you want to. Say, for the NFB, who they only do good things. Okay, but then you have, you also have to remember what all those email addresses are, of course. But I will tell you how to fix that too. The next thing is passwords. As I mentioned to everybody here, what Simple Joe Commoner did, he had used the same email everywhere. Yeah, I'm sorry, the same password everywhere. And he probably used one of the top 25 in the world which is 10% of all passwords that have been found out. So it's probable that he did use one of those. And typically they're less than 10 characters in length. So first off, you want to use a separate a separate password for every one of your accounts, and then make it a long password, at least 15 characters long. But you don't want to use just a word like princess for Princess Leia or Trump for our illustrious president, okay? Or, because both of those words, by the way, are on the top 25, okay? So you want to use random letters and numbers and symbols in your password. Excuse me? I'll just, so now you have long passwords that are difficult to remember. You have email addresses that for each individual account. How do you remember all this stuff? And to be honest, I'm a senior, and I have senior moments all the time. There ain't no way I'm going to remember all this. So I'm going to tell you how. You use what they call a password manager. Now, there are online password managers, and there are normal application password managers. And the one I would recommend is not an online one, because typically those password managers have been breached. So LastPass was breached just a couple of months ago. So I don't recommend using them. There are applications though that keep your passwords in an encrypted vault right on your phone or your iPad or somewhere safe like that. And the one I would recommend for those of us who have iPhones is KeyPass Touch. And that allows you to have all this information, as well as with your phone. I was talking about a mobile phone before, your mobile phone number, where you could call. One thing you want to do to protect your mobile phone number is to call into your carrier and tell them, I want to pin a personal information number on my number, so that to do anything with my number, you have to get this number from me. And then you take that number and you put it into your password manager. And any other information that's sensitive, you don't want anybody else to see, put into your password manager. Now, for those of you who have Android, Android phones or tablets, you want to keep the information there, or Windows machine, then you would use, on Android would be KeyPass Droid, and on Windows it would be just KeyPass. And they all work together, so you can have your password manager vault, say up on Dropbox or on Google Drive, and it's been encrypted on your phone, so nobody up there on the internet knows password for that vault except for you. And it's only one password you have to remember, not 50. Okay, and that can be used from all of your different devices, whether it be your Windows PC or your Android phone or your iPhone or iPad. So that would be the way I would. I think you can help to mitigate getting Mr. Grumpy from getting all of your information. And basically that's it.
Kind of rushing through that because they didn't want to give my secrets away. But next year maybe we'll have a breakout session. There's a lot more to cover. So the next group coming up, that was Tony, Santiago, Ada, and Anne-Marie Harris. Come on up, we gotta rush through this. Not rush through it, of course, but door prize all waiting up. Come on up, and the next group get ready to come up.
Okay, so for this door prize, we have a deck of Braille playing cards and a little bar of soap. And that's going to Denise Ferdinand.
Denise here?
What about Chelsea White?
Who's Chelsea White?
Chelsea White.
Oh, okay. Just take that card. I think it's here, so you can take that card out.
What about Brianna Murray? That's good. All right. Yay. Woo! Raise your hand. Right here.
You guys done? You done with me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Is the panel up here? Yep, good. Okay, every year the National Federation of the Blind enjoys a contest, if you want to call it that, an application process, to assist people to get to national convention. And we had 4 of our members this year receive a Jernigan first-timer scholarship to the convention. And I think each of them got $600 each, helps them for the cost. And they got a little extra money from the affiliate, helps them with the cost. And we're gonna have each of them talk for about 5 minutes each on their experience. I think Ada is first. Ada's gonna talk about her very soft trip from home to Las Vegas. Very soft, very quick trip. So Ada, you want my phone?
Yes, Mike.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Okay, first of all, overall, it was a wonderful trip. But I want to tell you about my determination to get to Las Vegas. When we arrived at the airport on time, me and my husband, my children came a half an hour later because they were flying on different airlines. Got there on time, baggage checked, everything. Get on the plane. I'm all excited because I had planned on being a rookie roundup, first timer. About 30 minutes later, they tell us the plane is going to be delayed. Delayed. First they said 20 minutes. My husband said, okay, we still want to get there in plenty of time, no problem. Then it was 30 minutes, and the minutes kept piling up. We sat on the runway for about 5 hours. Whoa! 5 hours. After about 5 hours, they decided to tell us we're going to cancel this flight. Oh. We're going to cancel the flight. I was panicked. My daughter had already texted me that their flight had left. Ours didn't leave because they were a tornado watch, that's what they said. I was worried about my children because they had never been to Vegas. Of course they're adults, but they had never been to Vegas. And we were I was nervous. I was truly upset. I was worried about my children. I was worried about my roommate because she couldn't get in the room. I was just frantic. So finally I broke down and I called Linda. I was crying. I was very upset. I was so upset that day I forgot to wish my wonderful Joe his birthday. It was his birthday the exact same day. And I was just upset. I told Linda, I said, Linda, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I was just frantic. So Joe said, don't worry about it, just try to get another flight and come tomorrow. But I'm still upset. My husband was pacing the floor. I sat there just very angry because I was so excited about going and such a disappointment. So finally my husband said, okay. We called my daughter. Nobody called her yet. I called Linda the second time. I was up crying. I gave her my daughter's phone number. She said, don't worry about her. I'll keep calling her. I'll tell her what's happening. Me and my husband still sitting in the airport. Finally, my daughter called us. They're in Vegas. I said, I don't know what we're gonna do. Call Linda back again. So Linda and Joe said, they'll look out for my children if there's no place for them to go. My husband told my children, my daughter, you go rent a car and you and your brother go check into a hotel until I get there. We waited around for our luggage. They said they couldn't find it. We waited and we waited. It was 5:30 in the morning. We were still at the airport from the next morning, waiting for our luggage. They finally told us, oh, your luggage is in Vegas. It left. So my husband said, how did my luggage go? And I couldn't go. Because how did you get my luggage and you couldn't get me here? So I called my daughter back that morning. I told her, I said, get us on a plane right away. So she did everything. She called me back. She said, I got you on a plane. You go out later on this afternoon. I said, look, you guys stay at the hotel till we get there. And in the meantime, my husband told him, I'm gonna call timeshare and tell the people to let you in the place so you have to pay another night just in case. But it was just so frantic. When we went back to the airport, we go through security, everything, and we're all ready to get our bags checked, and we're good to go. Excited, no luggage. But we get to Vegas, sure enough, our luggage was there. It got there, but they couldn't get us there. Couldn't get us there. So my husband said, okay, we're gonna have to go to the rental car. Let's go to the rental car, let's rent a car. We get to the rental car. My husband whips out his license, and the gentleman says, Mr. Crandall, I cannot rent you a car. My husband said, why? He said, your license has expired. My husband said, hey, I got the wrong license. I have to call my daughter and tell her, oh, the rental car you got? Come on to the airport. You're going to have to rent it for the whole week because they don't have no driver's license. So my daughter came to the airport. She rented the car for a whole week. We got in the car. I get to the hotel. I wait for Linda up in the middle of the night. Everybody in the room. And it was just, I was just determined to get there though, because I had wrote a good piece with the winter scholarship money. I was all excited. Linda had encouraged me to go so much. I just really wanted to be there, but it was just such a hard time to get there. But I'm telling you, when I did get there and got going, it was one of the best experiences I ever had. The hotel may have been a little large, but it was one of the best experiences. I got a chance to get to know some people more. I got to meet so many new people from all over the place, and everybody was just so nice. Yes, yeah. And if I live to see next year, I'll be in New York.
Yeah. No stopping her. Next is Emery Harris, another first timer. This year, if she comes, she'll be a two-timer, but right now she's still first time. I buried that joke. I should bury it. But Emery Harris is going to talk about working in the exhibit room, what it meant to her, and the fun she had there. I hope it was fun. Emery, go ahead.
I must say, it was a lot of fun. As far as working the table, first of all, I want to tell you guys, the exhibit room here, it's a wonderful thing. The one at National is at least 5 times that size, at least. It is amazing. There were at the convention, there were 49 of the 50 states represented. So that was amazing. So not only was Independence Market represented, and Amazon was there, and IRA, and Lyft, and all these other private industries. All of those 49 states had tables. Virginia was selling peanuts. So it was amazing how much time people think about what they're bringing with them, and how, like here within our group, we all support each other. So people came around and said, well, first of all, I must say, they asked for Joe's ties, which I didn't know much about. So we'll talk more about that later. But apparently Joe's known for ties throughout the country, NFB ties. But
Organized ties. Organized crime ties.
It was something else to be meeting people from all over the country And then you find out what a small world. Ryan Stevens, who's my chapter president, his uncle approached our table. He's in another state. And said, I just want to say hello, I'm Ryan's uncle. And I said, well, it's nice to meet you. Everyone was in a good mood. It was just such a positive feeling place, just like our convention, only magnified. And if you've thought about first timers and you're on the fence, get off the fence. It's a wonderful thing. It's a great support. Like Ada, we all had some kind of drama in our travels. And I did too, but I can say Linda also was supportive because I roomed with Linda and Mary Jo. And when I got there, it was 4:30 in the morning. So I did not wake them up. And I got in the room and I just thought there was a woman in each bed. I didn't question it. I didn't. And the person rolled over and I thought, this isn't Mary Jo, this isn't Linda. She said, good morning. And it was Joanna Mallard. But she said good morning, and I didn't know Joanna. And I said good morning, and we both rolled over and went back to sleep. It is a great support system. Yes, it actually was Ada's roommate. When Ada said that she was concerned about her roommate, so that, you know, the whole thing was a wonderful, wonderful thing. I can't wait for another national convention, and I encourage anyone who hasn't been to one to please go.
Super, super.
Oh my God.
Is Mr. Tony Santiago. Tony's going to talk to us about a little bit what Anne Marie touched about the exhibit. This guy's a techie. So he left there with headspin. Yeah, you're talking about 5 or 6 minutes to tell us about it.
Before I talk about that, first of all, I want to express my sincere gratitude to the NFB for the scholarship that I won from the Kenneth Scholarship, and also my appreciation for the affiliate for the help that they gave us. It's not easy for all of us to get there financially, so guys, fill out those applications if you really want to go get your scholarship. Boy, and I had a little drama on my flight as well. They made me pay for coffee. Actually, our flight went well. We were lucky. My wife and I were very lucky. Actually, met up with Mr. Dino Terrace in the airport in Vegas. He had missed his flight. But other than that, as far as, boy, just to mention the exhibit hall, that was an exhibit mall.
Yes, it was.
It was tech sensory overload. There was just so much, there's no way to absorb everything that there is, but it was great to be able to shake hands with some of the guys that helped to put this stuff out there for us and make our lives better with this unbelievable technology. It's just making our lives to the point where we have no more excuses for not having information, for not doing some of the things and gaining the things that we want to gain out there, because technology is helping us in so many ways, guys. We need to implement that and incorporate that in all of our lives, because it will make your lives easier. Independence means freedom. That's what this stuff does for us, guys. Boy, the convention itself, to say the mall that the hotel was a little large, like they were saying, that was the size of a city.
Yes.
That kind of took away because a lot of time was spent navigating the hotel. But I was lucky. I had my wonderful wife with me and helped me. We managed well. And she was a great help with me with getting around to all of my different activities and sessions that I wanted to get to. So thank you, hon. Boy, you know, things that impressed me about National, yes, the exhibit hall was there. I got tech coming out of my ears, so I really, I mean, I was looking forward to it for meeting some of the people that are the big guys in technology, but really I was there for a lot of the sessions and learning about our organization and how we do things and run things and how we come up with resolutions and pass resolutions that will change lives for blind people in our country. And seeing things like that was wonderful. And one of the positive things that I also, I got a lot from this convention, but one of the things that really sticks out in me about this convention was, even though this hotel was gigantic and everything was spread out and things were very difficult and wide open to get around in, I noticed our youth, our young people in our organization, blind people, blind young teenagers, kids, they're without any guidance, without any adults around them, they're just running around this hotel, sliding these canes all over the place, getting around on their own confidently and with no fear. And that tells me our future's in good hands. We got some kick-butt kids going out there, and hopefully we're going to be making a great impact on our organization. So that's partly, I think, them growing up in this Federation family. You can't help but become that kind of person. You grow up in this Federation, being influenced by our Federation. And boy, just like Anne-Marie said, guys, if you can at all possible, try to visit one. Go to Houston if you can. Save your pennies, save whatever you can, apply for your scholarship, do what you can to get to these things. If not, try your best to stream as much as possible. Listen to our President Rick Bono with his unbelievable inspirational speeches, and I love the way we started the sessions this morning with his words. Boy, what else can I say? I also want to say, guys, whoever organized our weekend, this state convention this weekend, you guys did a great job. If there's no way you can come out of this weekend without learning something. If you come out of this weekend and didn't gain something, it's not the Federation's fault. It's something wrong with you. All right, I'm sorry. There's no way. Guys, thank you very much for your time and your effort. I appreciate it.
These three, and of course, Joanna, I asked them to come up to meet with Mr. Cabono, and they did. And it puts the connection to it. You hear his voice, you listen to a presidential message. When you can meet him and he's down to earth like everybody else, that really cements it. Great job. Good job. Rick Fox and Jonathan is next. We're going to find out why all this is about and why there are federations. So, do you have any door prizes left?
I do have plenty of door prizes.
All right.
So, for this next door prize, it is a little, like one of those little buttons that goes on like the back of your phone, so you can like hold your phone, a pocket calendar, and $10 cash from the at-large chapter. And that is going to Donna Godfrey. Are you here? Donna Godfrey.
Oh. This is the way I find out who's here, you know.
What about Joanna Bacon?
Right here.
Now, V, at the end, get like 4 or 5 door prizes, one big prize at the end. And put some cash. You want cash? Yeah. Now, when this ends, listen, guys, it's important. We have to get out of this room quickly at 5 o'clock. So, the exchange table will be out in the hallway. Last minute exchange. Jade room. Jade as in code green. Jade. By the Jade room, we are last minute to exchange banquet tickets. If you don't worry, we'll find your seat when you get there.
Is Jade room down here? Right near here?
Jade room is out the door and to the right. Okay. Within the exhibit room? Jade room is exhibit room. Right. We'll have someone out the door saying Jade room, okay? So this next panel, as I said earlier, my morning comments, is very important to us, at least to me. Why are we here? Why do we spend time in this organization? We can be home today watching football, raking the leaves, aggravating our spouses, but we're here. Why are we spending time and money and resources to be here? Why am I a federation? So our first speaker, I think, is Rick.
It is. Yeah. How much time do I have?
7 minutes.
Good. So low expectations create obstacles between blind people and their dream. So somebody introduced me to the Federation in 1971 when I was a sophomore at Brown University. At that time, I was an emotional basket case as a result of my experience with low expectations. Even though I had graduated high school with a stellar record of good grades and extracurricular activities, some of those grades were not earned, but given to me by so-called well-meaning teachers who didn't want to hurt the poor blind kids' feelings. And after all, how much can you really expect from a blind student anyway? I was allowed to blind out of chemistry and physics because, well, how much can you expect from a blind student anyway? So when I entered college, I found myself unprepared, mostly because I had lost my self-confidence and had spiraled into a paralyzing depression. I felt utterly alone, full of doubt about whether I would be able to do anything meaningful with my life. You know, young kids are somewhat dramatic in their thinking. I was ashamed of my blindness and ashamed of myself for allowing this to happen to me in the first place. So I want to know, am I the only one in this room who has ever felt that way? No. So my first point is to say that if you are going through this, you just found out that you are not alone, that many of the people in this room, even the leaders, understand what you're going through because they experienced it themselves. And so the first byword of the National Federation of the Blind is community. So we know what it's about because we've been through it. So when I met with the Federation, I began to find people to talk to. And that's a delicate process because you can't just talk to everybody. But I began to find people to talk to, and some of them were really good. They embraced me, they cried with me. But the distinguishing characteristic of this organization is that after they cry with you, they sit you down and they say, well, now what's the next step? So you never are left with that feel-good cry. That's only the beginning. And so the mentors and I spoke about things. And the next thing I want to say is that the first thing I did was I went to an NFB convention in 1970. Well, I went to chapter meetings, but the first experience I remember was my convention in 1974. I think it was then. It was in Chicago. And by the way, the room rates were $12 a night. But just like all of you today, the convention for me was life-changing because I had read in the Braille Monitor that it is respectable to be blind. And that's a revolutionary idea, but I hadn't seen it in practice until I went to a convention. And the place is crawling with blind people. Kind of take over the place. So while you're there, blindness is normal, and you can begin to practice being unashamed. You can begin to practice those skills. And for the most part, all the people you meet are eager to help. And nobody ever treated me with contempt or disgust because of my low confidence, because of my bad feelings, and it's because we all know what it feels like. So the next important thing is that the NFB provides us with a laboratory for practicing what it is like to be respectable to be blind and what it's like to begin to do things that you thought you could not do. So I started taking jobs in the chapter. I started to become to hold offices and to get on committees. And little by little, I began to test my limits. And each time I tested them, I was able to test them a little more. And in 1993, well, in 1992, I was elected vice president of my affiliate. And the president said, "It's all right, you're vice president, I'll be here." And in 6 months, he moved. And then I was president of the affiliate. And it was really 3 of the most meaningful years of my life. And it helped me to understand what my abilities were in a way that I had not understood them before. So all of us as individuals will experience that differently, but testing your limits in the NFB is a wonderful way to expand and stretch yourself, and that will apply in other areas of your life. And the other thing that's really important about what I learned in the NFB is everybody who helped me. And I had people in New York who took the subway with me for the first time, who crossed 116th and Park Avenue with me. I grew up in a little suburb in Monmouth County. And the idea of me crossing Park Avenue in New York, it sounded ludicrous. And if it had not been for that person to help me cross that worked with me and said, let's just cross the street, then I would not have done it. And that is what a mentor can do for you. And so but every mentor who helped me said either by word or deed, they said, now we've helped you, pay it forward and help somebody else. Give it back. So the wonderful thing about this organization is that we get encouragement, and we can take that encouragement and take the confidence that we are building and share it and give it to somebody else. And it's the only way that the organization flourishes. And I have to say that giving of yourself is the only way that we flourish. And so that is why I am a federationist. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Our next speaker is a little bit younger than Rick. I don't know if Rick said he joined in 71. John, were you born in 1971?
No.
Anyway, John is our elected president today from our student division. Second term, we will talk about the student division tomorrow. Jonathan, why are you a federation?
I'm a federationist because of all the wonderful opportunities being in the NFB provides, for me and for everyone else. I guess I'll start with my origin story, why I joined the NFB in the first place, how I heard about it, etc. So then my freshman year at TCNJ, first semester of college, pretty daunting for everyone, and being visually impaired, I wouldn't say it necessarily helps the cause, everyone understands that. So I was returning some technology. I don't know if anyone knows that this person at TCNJ, Carly Fredericks. Yeah, she recommended, oh, by the way, there's this student division in the NFB in New Jersey. You should check it out. And the president's big asked me, here's the contact information. So I called. It's like, oh wow, this NFB thing is pretty cool. So I go on a few calls, and they say, yeah, you should contact Joe Ruffalo next. So a few weeks later, after midterms, finals, everything settles down the semester, I called Joe Ruffalo. He was, as we all know, he's very inviting, very knowledgeable, told a lot of jokes. He did. That's when I officially decided, this NFB thing seems pretty cool. I decided to join it. And since I joined, the NFB has tested me in so many different ways. One of the biggest that everyone seems to mention is National Convention. There's so many successful professional blind people there. I met other students with the same situation as me. all across the country. It was great. It really was. And another thing that tested me that National Convention tested me with was my ability to travel by myself. Because for some reason, not to knock my parents or anything like that, they're not the biggest fans of me traveling by myself. I was able to prove them that I was able to do it. Navigate Orlando by myself. Was because my last national convention was Orlando 2018. I was able to navigate that myself. The airport, which is really good because if I screwed that up, it wasn't really bad. I was able to prove to myself, my parents, that I could, and that I could do things like travel independently and do things independently, and meet other blind people. And there are people in my shoes that are experiencing the same things as I am. Very great, very good to know and have this really supportive network. And within New Jersey, being president of the student division has tested me as well. Gotten a lot of unexpected questions from students, and hope I was able to answer all of them sufficiently. And I'll say it is great to give back to such a wonderful organization. And finally, another thing I can finally do, one of the other reasons why I'm a Federationist is because my great Federation family, especially here in New Jersey. Between my 3 conventions, I met a lot of nice people, a lot of cool people. And I know if something goes wrong, people got my back.
Certainly did, John.
Federation family, that's why I'm a Federationist.
Thank you. So we want to know you out there, you guys out there, just think of that question too. Why are you a Federation? Just think about that. Because next year you may be up here telling us. Get that last panel coming up. As we're coming up, Ms. Melendez, any comments or directions for people to, and we said the last minute exchange, banquet exchange will be done by Jade. Emery's back there, Emery Harris.
I am.
Last chances to get your shirts.
Yes, and if anybody else.
You'll bring some down tomorrow just in case.
I will. I just wanted to let everybody know too that there's a few of us that have raffle tickets for the triple play. If anybody wants to get
Only a couple raffle tickets left for triple play.
Yes.
Good.
So go back there and buy a couple. Buy some triple play. Sign up for nothing. Jade room is the walk-up registration room. Do we have any pre-registrations left in that box? Let me know who they are. They might be not here. All right, come on, Theo. Yeah. Yes. Okay, let me know when you get ready. Let's do one quick door prize. One quick. One quick.
All right. So we have a soap dish, and that comes with cranberry, some flavor soap. Cranberry. Is Ingrid Hill here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Down the yeah.
All right, we got that winner? We got that winner? A winner. We have done this panel before, and we're going to do it again every couple of years or so. But this is a great. It's called On the Hot Seat. I'm going to turn it over to Carol, and this is really important to listen to and think about the questions how you would answer them. So, Carol, it's all yours.
So you've been hearing all this stuff about how the Federation's a family, we got each other's back, we're so warm and friendly. Well, this is the sadistic side of the Federation coming out. Our poor panelists, here we are at the end of the day, and our poor panelists have no idea what questions they're going to be asked, and yet they have the courage to come up here, which we really appreciate. So I'm going to ask questions that, so we have 3 couples up here, all of which have one blind member and one sighted member. And I'm going to ask several questions, and we'll just pass the mic around and see what answers we get.
You can introduce them.
Oh, okay, so we have up here Latanya and Sean Calloway, and we have Marianne and David Dino Taris, and we have Jeff and, Scott and Jen White.
All right.
So the first question is for the blind half of the couples. And the question is, what message did you receive while growing up or when you became blind about dating and getting married? So let's start. Scott, would you start that one off?
Okay, I'll teach you later for putting me on first. Thanks for that. Okay, so, well, in growing up, it really wasn't anything that I got directly. I mean, I guess I was, just when it came to marriage and so forth, it was just like every child does, look towards their parents and the loving home that I saw, and that's just what I've been able to carry forward, and lucky enough to have now. And some of you all know this is my second marriage, and my first wife passed away when she was 38. And I was just lucky to find Jen. I never really thought I'd find somebody that I could love as deeply again, but I found Jen, so I'm so happy and so lucky.
Oh,
So, dating, right?
Dating or marriage, if you got any messages from your parents or siblings or society.
In this industry, yes.
You have a code of conduct.
We do.
Awkward indeed.
So, that's so funny. So, I remember someone had. The story that comes to mind really fast is I was in a relationship my freshman year of college. It wasn't a good relationship. It wasn't healthy. It wasn't positive. And I remember someone saying to me, oh, and then the young lady had broken up with me. And, she told me she had broken up with me because I was blind. And she told me that her dad said I'd never be able to provide for her, and so she picked up with me. And someone had said to me, you better get back with her because I don't know who else is going to want to date her. And that was a college friend. And then a family member said, the hell with her. You're going to find somebody better. And, but the message is of, take the crumbs and settle. Never settle. Never settle. And so, I was very fortunate to have family members who encouraged me to hang in there. And I'm the luckiest guy in the world.
Well, I had sight for 19 years, right? So when I would walk into homes of women, young ladies I would date, I would deal with pleasant parents, right? After I lost my sight, it was a little different. When you start dating, and as David said, it's kind of the same story where I was kind of courting one young lady, and her parents were smiling in your face. Oh, it's nice to meet you, blah, blah, blah. But then she called me and said, my parents don't feel that you can be a good provider for me. So it's one thing to, for 19 years, to be a good catch, right? And then after you lose your sight, it's like you're almost you're gonna be a hindrance or kind of a roadblock for someone to be prosperous in life. So I mean, and this happened multiple times. I mean, parents are something. You know, they just feel that you have no way of being a good provider for their daughter. But again, oftentimes you just keep the faith in a sense, and like the two panelists, I struck gold myself.
Therapy up here is great. So the next question is for our sighted panelists. And the first, the question is, how did you meet your spouse? LaTanya, would you start us off with that one?
So I met Sean several years before we actually started dating. He actually went to college with my best friend's boyfriend at the time. And he came to visit Cleveland, Ohio, where I'm from. And my best friend said, well, why don't you ride with me to the airport? I'm going to pick up Daryl's friend. His name is Sean. He's blind, but he's a lot of fun. I said, okay. I said, okay, fine. I had nothing to do. I said, okay, I'll ride with you. So we picked him up at the airport, and then we were supposed to just drop him off at Daryl's house and keep going, but we ended up staying at the house and hanging out for a while and just having conversations. So it wasn't met. It wasn't in the cards for us to get together at that time, right?
Right.
We learned about each other, throughout the years, and maybe about 7 or so years later.
Yeah, 6 years later.
6 years later, they got married. And, Marcy, my best friend, came to me and said, well, Sean's going to be in a wedding. You don't mind. You remember him, right? Of course, I ask you about him all the time. And she said, well, good. He asked about you, too. You all will be walking down the aisle together, okay? He was a cool guy, I remember. And from that point on, we've been walking together. All right.
Yes, Scott and I actually met on, I don't know, before internet dating, there was these chat lines where you could call in and talk to people on the phone, and you could, go to the next person or the next person, you could decide to talk to who you wanted to, and I heard Scott's voice, or he heard mine, I guess, I don't remember exactly which one. And we ended up talking the entire evening, and we actually went out on a date the very next day. That's how we met. That's exactly how we met.
Our next question is also. Sorry. I'm so sorry.
It was very short and sweet. We were in college together. We were at an outing. We'll just leave it at that. And yeah, library or whatever, someplace in college. And we just met. We started talking. We just completely hit it off. And then my roommate knew him, and we ended up talking more. Yeah, here we are. 25 years.
A lot of talking and walking going on with you guys. So this next question is also for the sighted half. Did you ever imagine when you were younger that you would marry a blind person? So Jen, would you start us off this time?
No. Well, when my dating life began. I never had met a blind person before I met Scott, period. I didn't know any blind people. I didn't, I didn't think about it one way or another, but it, wasn't something that was on my radar. It was because I had never met anybody that was blind before I met Scott at all. It was just not something that I even thought about.
Okay, thank you. There.
Dave was the first blind person I met too, so never thought about it.
Nope. So, the follow-up question is to our blind members of the couples. Were you secretly delighted to marry a sighted person because they would take care of you? So, Scott, want to start us off?
No, I can take care of myself. My first wife, she was blind, so I've been on both sides of the coin. And the only difference that I found is that I have a driver. That's the only difference.
That does come in handy.
But someone that can drive, and it does make transportation a little easier. But my first wife and I did this fine. So really we've been able to go ahead, and Jen and I have been able to go ahead and do spur of the moment trips a lot easier. But that's about the only difference that I have.
Are you secretly delighted to marry a sighted person because she would take care of you?
Delighted is the word I'm caught up on, is delighted. I used to know a blind guy would say, I'd be delighted to be here. I never gave that any thought. Marianne was just, had so many gifts, and that wasn't anything that ever crossed my mind. Really, I didn't. No.
All right, thank you, Sean.
Well, it was before Tanya came along. I was actually loving a lot of dates, but I got a home. I purchased a new home, and I invited a young lady over who I was kind of pursuing that. We would eat dinner, and she just in mid chewing, I guess, she said, "Sean, I don't think I can do this." And I'm like, "Do what?" And she said, "Date you." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" She said, "Well, if we really take this further, I'm going to have to take care of you."
Oh, wow.
And so, and that really baffled me because you were in my house, and I just cooked you dinner. Something just ain't set right with me. So I never had the mindset of someone having to take care of me because I was making it on my own already.
Right.
So I didn't have that mentality. Oh, I got lucky because I got a sighted woman, But that's it.
Somehow I was not surprised at that response from you three. But now we're going to find out the truth because we're going to ask the sighted spouses, how are chores and household duties split up in your house?
Well, it's a funny story. Currently, of course, now, we share in all of our, household stuff as well as the care of our daughter, taking her to school and everything and picking her up. We share in that responsibility. But initially, I think he kind of just sat back. He was overheard telling the same best friend in Cleveland, my best friend overheard the conversation. Well, I got it made or something to that effect. that I had a conversation with his sister, and I was saying with her sweet way, she's like, well, you know Sean can do all that, right? I said, yeah, but she's like, well, you know Sean can do that too, right? I said, yeah, but well, you know he can do that. I said, you know what, I got it. Okay, I got it. I'll back up. So that's the story.
Yeah, I'm just gonna be nice and say they are not divided equally. That has nothing to do with whether you can see or not. And that's all I'll say.
I understand. All right, Jen?
So Scott and I have had this conversation numerous times, because when I met him, he did all of these things like cook and clean and, you know, all these things that I do now all the time. Dusted his clothes. Does he do that now? Does he do the dishes? So, like I said, we've had this conversation. But it hasn't changed in the end. So, you know, if you guys want to help out, that'd be great.
Like the newlywed. What would your spouse say? We don't really mean to break up marriages. So we're going to redeem now. For our sighted members, last question. Would you recommend marrying one person to others? Mary?
I just think you should marry whoever makes you happy.
Absolutely, I agree. And Jen?
I definitely think this is Scott's number 3 for me, and it definitely comes down to who makes your heart beat quickly, who makes you feel like the queen that you are. And, so, yes, I think it's definitely who makes you feel the best.
What are they talking about?
Now, here is the last question for our blind participants. And that is, would you give a piece of advice to parents of blind children, or teachers of blind children, or newly blinded people, or any blind person? Just give us a piece of advice as we go forward from today. Scott, would you start us off?
Well, that might come a little bit later. I would say just the thing that really needs to be stressed with parents is just what we talked about today, the education of appropriate skills for that age level. So my parents we really didn't know any, like a lot of big people. They didn't know any blind people. We didn't really link up with the patients at blind, not that that was an answer, but we didn't link up with them until later on. But I fondly remember, you know, kids hear everything that parents don't want to hear. So I remember a conversation that my father and mother were having, and my mother, of course, was, you know, wanting to be naturally protected and so forth. And my father told her a number of times, "You're not going to be here forever. He has to learn to take care of himself." And that's the way I was raised, and that's what the advice I have. I mean, yes, I complained about having to clean the wood and work in the garden and stack the wood and all that stuff, like every other teenager, but I had to do it, and that's, you know, that's just giving me a real positive attitude and approach life.
Thank you, Scott.
I would say that it's okay to be a failure. You know, allow people to fail forward. I remember being on a Boy Scout trip, and we were on a hike, and my dad was on the trip with us. And I wouldn't use it. And you know how the trails are in Boy Scout camps, and they're all rocky and sticks and this and that. And I fell, and I fell pretty hard, and it was down, and, you know, I cut my elbow, and I cut my knee, And, you know, I was probably on the ground for maybe 10 seconds. And my dad said, "You better get up. You better get up." And, so, and I'm like, okay. And he's like, David, it's okay to fall down. You just gotta get up. That's the advice I got. If you fall down, you gotta get up.
Terrific.
Quite honestly, and just to echo off Scott and David, really it's about building confidence. Just monitor your children in regards to just making sure they're confident, putting skills, making sure they receive the skills to build their confidence, because it's not an easy world out there for anybody, right? And so it's just preparing your child for the ups and downs and trials and tribulations of life in general. You know, I think that just make sure they're confident, but ensure, you know, for yourself that you're confident in them. And just continue to support them. That's pretty much it.
Thank you, Sean. Please thank this panel for having courage.
Okay, in about 2 minutes we're gonna get up. What do they do it now? Should I forget? Get up, turn around, and get out. Get it ready, get it ready. Big door prize. Yes, and the triple play raffle will go off now. Which number one did you
Debbie Boomer, my name is over, meet me at the back of the room.
Get that door prize ready. Or triple play, whatever you want.
Yes.
Wait a minute. Play going?
Where's Ellen?
I do it. You get door
Right here in the
prize.
second row, we have a ring.
Yep.
Okay. We have a plaque that says "Bless this home" that you can hang up. We have a braille calendar, a little bar of soap, and $10 cash from the Northern Chapter. And that's going to Carrie Apollo. Are you here? Carrie Apollo. No cigar. What about Janet Jones?
Woo! Let me know when you have triple play ready. Let me know when you have triple play ready. Does anybody need to change your banquet ticket or all done? Anybody? Oh, you didn't change your banquet tickets? Well, you got the J room until 10 after 5. I'm checking.
Gonna be wearing night.
I think you're going to be
All right, let's get out there for triple play. Gotta be 3 winners.
Yes, yes.
Anybody have a large bag? Here you go. Hey, here's the next big bag. Got a bag? Okay, the first winner is.
Hey, what happened? What happened?
Now we're gonna have the table box on.
How many go?
How many we pulling, Jerry?
You're gonna pull 3.
Okay, you start.
It's okay if you do, Jerry.
Oh my God. I'm coming. All right. Oh my God, it's Ellen Sullivan.
Who is the winner? Hey, congratulations. He's refusing. We gotta get out of this room in 1 minute.
Okay. Pull the next one. Sherry Winton.
Sherry Winton here? Well, it doesn't matter if you're here or not. She won it, she gets it. Whatever.
Oh,
We have one more winner? One more ticket? One more ticket or 2 more tickets? One more. One more. Here you go. Amazon.
Okay, so Max, since you're the last one, you get the fire stick.
All right, everybody get up, turn around, and leave the room. What about what? Do we sell 5 back? Well, you know, we have it until Saturday and Sunday, you know. I mean, tonight, tomorrow. Yep. Meeting adjourned. Get up, turn around, get out. Get up, turn around, and walk out, guys. Come on. Listen tonight what doors you have to go through. We'll have hawkers out there tonight. We here before. There's not seating, there's seating, might give it away. 6:45.
Valerie?
Hey, Ellen.
Oh, we're going to
Hey, you want to put that in? I
don't know where.
Oh, I'll tell you. All right. Well, I guess that's it. Go grab me to the left. Grab me to the left. Hey, babe. You're in the back table area. Grab me to the left. Hey, babe. Come on.
Dad, did you bring a truck to take all your stuff home?
Of course. Yeah.
It's called a nap job.
Yeah, it's great. You know, we keep doing one thing, we take it up to the car. We don't want another thing, we don't ever take it to the room or anything. Or I just wanted to find a signal. I know. Yeah.
Thank you. Janie, somebody has a check for you.
What, honey?
There's a young lady in the hallway, she has a check for you. Since you're here in person, I'll let her give it to you.
Check for me for what?
For senior division. Here we go. I'm glad you won. You see the gentleman that won?
Exactly. You deserve to win.
Oh, well, I donated it back, so.
Caesar. All right, so Hi.
Right. Take a look.
Head table for how much, Dan? Head table for how many?
Vamos a triangular, así como se siente que me quieren.
No, sueltas de 9, 6 de 9. 6 de 9. Mira, Daniel, este 6 aquí es, no, el número 6, no. No, pero es que primero, pero no es lo que dice aquí, 6, decía que el número 6, pero 9. Todas en el 6.
Okay, we have like,
Huh?
It's called a 6. Yeah. The table. No, two tables. It's